What's the fundamental duty of all Americans? If you don't know, you've got to stay tuned to Carolina People. Coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio. We're focused on one of the most important rights we have as citizens, the right to vote. And we're visiting with the chairman of the Horry County Democratic Party, Attorney Greg McCollum. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
You know, I couldn't think of anyone. There's a lot of folks. Obviously, this is the largest county in the state. And, of course, you know, we serve a lot of viewers in North Carolina as well as throughout the PD. But down here, when you think about it, and party politics has really become a big thing. Back on June 22nd, we had a guy who'd been a political consultant and, of course, just trying to encourage folks to get out to vote, whether they were supporting either of those candidates. It's just that desire to get out to vote and really recognize that right. So thanks so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
It's a big year, a presidential year.
Yeah, presidential year is big, in the U.S. Senate race as well.
Right. Real quick about yourself, Greg. Are you originally from the area?
I grew up in Easley, South Carolina.
Okay. And what brought you down to Horry County?
I was out of law school working for a judge, and our judges ride on a circuit. And he was the judge that I worked for was stationed here, and that's what brought me here.
Okay. You said growing up in Easley, did you always know you wanted to be an attorney?
I think I decided to be an attorney in the 9th grade. That's when I thought that's what I wanted to do.
What prompted it?
I think my father prompted it. He told me that I could be a dentist, a surgeon, or a lawyer. And the lawyer sounded like the best choice for me.
Yeah, but as a 9th grader, I mean, you were 15. I mean, it sounds like it'd be thrilling to be a doctor, ER, and all that. I mean, you know, getting out on the front, saving lives.
Yeah, I think sometimes now, looking back on it, maybe I should have done that. Yes, but that's when I first started thinking that I wanted to go to law school.
I think I saw you went to school in the Upstate.
Yes, I went to Clemson as an undergraduate.
What'd you study?
I studied English literature and political science.
Uh-huh. Did that give you a little bug of possibly getting interest, or maintaining that interest, I guess, in law school?
Yes.
Political science?
Well, it was sort of a pre-law major.
And then you said you went to a law school. Where'd you go to law school?
University of South Carolina.
Okay, great. Golly. Now, when you're in law school, how does that happen? For viewers who may not be familiar with folks going to law school, do you figure out what kind of an attorney you want to be when you start law school or during law school, or how does that work?
No, not at all. Everybody essentially takes all the same classes. Everybody learns the same thing in law school. The University of South Carolina has a traditional law school. There are some schools, I think, that allow some specialization, but by and large, I think almost all schools, everybody takes the same courses.
And you were taught South Carolina law, or you taught federal law, or both?
A lot of the law you learn is English common law.
For a viewer who may not understand what common law is, what do you mean? Common
law is law that's determined by case precedent versus codified or statutory law, which is the law written by either Congress or by a state legislature or even a city council or county council.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So a lot of things that you're learning in law school is common law.
Yeah, almost all of it is. You study case law, appellate decisions, versus there's really almost no study of statutes.
Of course, in South Carolina, there's been only one law school forever until very recently, I guess. Now there's a law school that's underway down in Charleston.
Yes, originally there were 2 law schools. I think the schools were segregated. And I think that, I'm not sure exactly, I think there was a law school in Orangeburg, if I'm not mistaken. And with integration, that school was closed. But yes, for a long time, there's only been one law school in South Carolina.
Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that. Of course, you know, up in North Carolina, I think there's 5 law schools, Central and Campbell and UNC and Duke and Wake Forest. So there's, in a state immediately adjacent, of course, Georgia has a lot of law schools. It's been very interesting to see that. What do you think about the emergence of a second law school down in Charleston?
I think it's a good thing, especially that law school is being one of the founders is Judge Alex Sanders, and he's coming to that school with a vision of public service, and they're trying to attract students who are interested in public service. It's, I think kind of along the lines of something like Yale University, which has a strong emphasis on public service, and that's where they're coming from with that, and I think they'll do very well.
Tommy Britton was with us a few months ago, and I think he said one of his children's planning on attending there next year.
That's great.
He's going to law school there, which is very exciting. And so that public interest, of course, attending any law school is probably a pretty expensive thing. So getting into public interest law may be tough for a lot of folks.
Yeah, it's private, so obviously it's more expensive, a great deal more expensive.
When you said you got out of law school and you started clerking for a judge, you said in South Carolina the judges travel? Is that indicative of all the judges? Or
in South Carolina, the circuit court judges, they're called circuit court judges because they travel on a circuit for court terms. In other words, they don't stay in one county. They go to different counties and hold court.
Okay. For viewers here in Horry County, for instance, who are watching, who are some examples of circuit court judges here, the names they may have heard of?
Judge Breeden, John Breeden, Judge Paula Thomas,
right.
Judge Stephen John, are the three circuit court judges in this circuit. The 15th Circuit comprises both Horry and Georgetown County.
Okay. And up in the PD, there are, I guess, lots of different circuit judges as well, and they travel all over.
Yes.
Golly.
There are 16 judicial circuits in South Carolina. There's 16 circuit solicitors, so there's 16 district attorneys in the state of South Carolina.
Like Greg Hembry is one of them here.
Is the circuit solicitor for the 15th Judicial Circuit.
That's very interesting. I think I saw, Greg, and reading a little bit about you, that you had been active with helping out the Myrtle Beach High School mock trials. Well, were you the mock trial coach there?
Yes. I did that for a couple of years, which was a very good experience. And Stanley Morrison, who's a teacher there, she was the teacher supervisor, and then I was the mock trial coach.
What does that mean exactly for someone who's not? Is that y'all actually would put on trials or kind of make up trials? How did that work?
It's a nationwide. There's a nationwide mock trial system, and they choose a case so that everybody, for example, in the state of South Carolina, has the same fact pattern in the same case. And it might be a criminal case or it might be a civil case. So the students play the roles of lawyers and witnesses, and you have to present both sides. So you have plaintiffs' lawyers and then defense lawyers on the same team, and they go against the counterparts from other schools.
That's interesting. So they travel around as well, around the state to compete, or...
Well, you have to win to travel. They would have a competition. They have it every year in Conway and different schools, I think, from Florence, and we had a school from, I think, Camden and Myrtle Beach and Socastee and Carolina Forest. And if whoever advances from that goes to Columbia, and then they have a round of competition there. And after that, if you win in the state, then you can go to a national competition.
Wow. How'd y'all do?
My team, we never could get out of Conway.
Oh.
We came close a couple of times. Socastee has had a nationally prominent mock trial team for years. In fact, they won the national title.
You're kidding?
I think in the early 90s.
Wow. Who's their coach? Was it the same person back then, or were you competing against him?
Not then.
Right. How exciting. Golly. Now, you, of course, after you did the traveling around with the judge, did you go into private practice immediately, or did you...
No, I went to work for the public defender's office, defending people who could not afford a lawyer. I worked for the public defender here in Horry County, in Conway. After that, I went to work in the solicitor's office. At that time, the solicitor was Jim Dunn, and he hired me to prosecute criminal cases.
Okay. And when you talk about prosecuting criminal cases, those are all just right here in the county, or in Horry and Georgetown.
In Horry and Georgetown County.
Right. Well, that's great. How long have you been practicing outside of the working for the county?
I left the solicitor's office in '93, so 10 or 11 years.
You've been a solo practitioner for more than a decade now.
Yes.
Wow. What's that like?
It's interesting. Most of my practice consists of doing criminal defense. So if a person is charged with a crime and arrested, they come to me. They hire me to defend them.
Are there lots of criminal defense attorneys around? I hope not.
It can be a tough area of practice, and there's a fairly good number, though. Yes, it's grown steadily over the years.
Have you always been a Democrat, Greg?
Yes, I would say I've always been a Democrat, with the exception of when I first became old enough to vote. The first time I voted in a presidential election was 1980, and I did vote for Ronald Reagan. Big mistake.
Oh, no, I was going to say, were you proud of it, or you got regrets?
After the 4 years, I didn't vote for him again.
Right. Wow. How exciting. That's amazing when you get interested, of course, your first time. You said that was in 1980. So,
yes, I was 20 years old.
Right. So your first vote was right at the turn of a decade of your life. And, of course, folks can vote at age, 18?
Yes.
Folks have the right to vote or have the ability to vote at age 18.
Right, 18.
So, but now recently taking on this position as chairman of the Horry County Democratic Party is a big deal. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of work involved. This is like volunteer service.
It is a lot of work, and fortunately it's becoming more and more work because the party's growing at a fairly dynamic pace now. So the more it grows, the more work it becomes. But that's a good thing.
Do you all have party headquarters somewhere, Greg?
Right now we run the party out of my law office, which is at 516 29th Avenue North in Myrtle Beach. In fact, we had the coordinated campaign out of Columbia, just installed 6 telephone lines in my conference room so that volunteers can come in and make calls.
Wow, that's a great commitment, Greg. You said 516 29th Avenue North?
Yes, in Myrtle Beach.
So right there next to Stages Video.
Yeah. Those are my next door neighbors.
Near Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some great landmarks around there.
Right.
Well, that's great. Well, of course, when folks think about service to a particular party, whether it's Democratic or Republican or natural law or anything, I mean, that is really community service.
It really is. And the basis of the party structure derives from, we have 108 precincts in Horry County.
Okay.
And so the goal is to have all of the precincts organized. This year we organized 50% more. We're getting ready to organize, I think, 5 more that were not organized. And it really gives people a local person who's connected to the local party that they can go to. That way a person can go to their neighbor and say, I think this is important, or what do you think about this candidate? And it really gives us a grassroots organization from the neighborhoods in Horry County.
And why is that important?
Well, it's important so that people are connected. So many people don't vote, or are frustrated, or don't get involved, or they say that they don't know who to vote for, or they don't know what an issue is about. If they belong to a local precinct and they can talk to the president of their precinct or their executive committee person, then they have that information, and it is empowering to them.
So there's an executive committee person for both parties in each of those 108 precincts?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a president and an executive committee person, or there's at least just that executive committee person?
It depends on the precinct, but there are all the offices in each precinct, just like in the county party structure or the state party structure. For example, there's a president, a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer, an executive committee member, and then an alternate. The executive committee member goes to the county executive committee meetings, and they function like the board of a corporation.
Golly, I did not know that. That's for all 108 precincts.
Yes.
That's a big, I had no idea.
And we meet every quarter in Conway at the Judicial Center, and that's where the business of the party is done.
Now, of course, sometimes people will call the office. Do you find oftentimes that folks really don't know what party to be in, or they just want to get involved to help get folks out, or when folks contact you, they have a pretty good feel?
People that contact us know what party they want to be in. And Republicans contact us too. We recently bought out a movie theater at Broadway at the Beach and sold out 145 seats to see Michael Moore's movie. And we've been getting some very irate calls about that to the party headquarters.
My God, why? I mean,
apparently there are people that think that we don't have the right to see that movie because they think the movie's subversive. Interestingly enough, though, these people I don't think have seen it.
Right. Was it a pretty good movie?
It's a powerful movie.
Really?
It's funny, it's sad, it's disturbing, and it's also empowering to a lot of people.
How does that tie in? I mean, as it ties into Democratic or any party politics, I mean, that may be something that the Republican Party needs to get around and go out and see as a group. I mean, that's something in whatever community, whether you're in Marlborough County or down here in Horry County.
Interestingly, when the movie came out, a lot of people, for example, I think Dwayne Oliver, who's the chairman of the Republican Party, had condemned it as being deceitful or propaganda. Now, I haven't had a chance to talk to Dwayne. I don't know if he's seen it. I know that the callers, I'm pretty sure, had not seen it.
That's very interesting. Now, of course, for you, as I think I saw on y'all's website, OrieDemocrats.org, there's a lot of efforts there, and I think one of them was just how folks could be involved, how they could help. And, of course, this would be applicable, again, to whether you're involved as a Democrat or whether you're involved as a Republican. The real goal is just to get involved.
Right.
Some of the great things you all had there at the site were obviously voting, organizing your neighborhood, joining obviously in that instance the Horry County Democratic Party, canvassing the neighborhood, donating, writing letters, getting involved when you hear something on a radio show or a TV show, calling in.
Well, it's a way for people to be involved in their community. It's a way for them to help other people. It's a way for them to help make decisions about our government. It's a way for them to learn about who their representative is. For example, we have a monthly breakfast meeting. We have several meetings that happen every month. A luncheon, there's a happy hour, there's a breakfast meeting, and for example, at the breakfast meeting, we've had people speak there. We usually almost always have a speaker, and that's usually an elected official, whether it's a local senator or a council member or someone like that. So it gives people an opportunity to speak to that person, shake their hand, meet them, hear them speak in a way that they wouldn't normally have the opportunity to have.
Which is so important. We had another guest on a few months ago around the same time with Tommy as we were leading up to the Gallows Ferry Stump, John Chenrette, who was with us for an hour for 2 days. And it was so exciting hearing him talk about, his first involvement, but trying to get folks involved, just getting others involved, because he pointed out if someone's not running for office, government shuts down. I mean, someone has to make that commitment to stand up and put their family through it or put themselves through it. It's a big deal.
Right.
Do you all help candidates make the decision or help candidates get involved in running for office, Greg?
We try to help and guide candidates as much as we can. Our party is growing right now and had reached a point of where it had become stagnant. So as we grow, we're able to do more and more. But certainly we can provide information to them. We can provide precinct information, help them raise money, show them how to go about trying to run a campaign and guide them to certain sources. We certainly try to do what we can for them.
What are some of the first steps that a potential candidate, if you're talking to a viewer and they're a potential candidate, what are some of the first steps that a potential candidate should take before deciding to run for office, Greg?
The first thing a person should do before deciding to run for office is call 100 of their closest friends and get their support. Get a commitment from those people, either financial support or a willingness to do mail-outs or help them design a brochure and the things that need to be done. In order to run for office, the person should have a base of people that they can rely on, and that will translate into a campaign.
That's really good. I don't think I'd ever heard anyone say that. That's a big deal. And, of course, that also gives you kind of a litmus test there. If they support you, I mean,
if you can't think of 100 people that you know, then you have to think seriously about your candidacy.
Right. And, of course, whether they want the job, what they do with the job if they get elected, can they afford to lose? Can they really afford to win? There's a lot of critical questions out there oftentimes, I'm sure, for candidates, but that's a great point. What are some other things you encourage them to think about?
Well, they need to think about the issues. They need to think about why they're running. They need to think about what they believe about a particular issue and what the purpose of their campaign is. What's the purpose of their candidacy? How are they going to inspire people and motivate people? Why are people going to believe in them and vote for them? Some candidates think in terms of in very local elections. Well, I have good judgment and I feel like I can represent people well. Some people say, well, the person I'm running against doesn't attend the meetings or they're not doing their job. And I think those are valid reasons as well. But certainly if you're going to run as a Democrat or as a Republican or a member of another party, you need to see if your beliefs line up with that party so that the party will support you and others in the community will support you.
Those are very good points. I appreciate you talking about that. Do you think your position as a criminal defense attorney has helped you move into a position, this volunteer position as chairman of the Horry County Democratic Party? Do you think you've learned anything or garnered anything from your experiences in the courtroom?
Maybe not so much in the courtroom, but by practicing law, especially by practicing criminal law and being in court a lot, it takes you to the courthouse. And so you deal on a daily or weekly basis with a lot of elected officials. And then in individual cases, you deal with the police department. And so you have a pretty good feel for what your local government leaders are doing and how good a job they are doing and how well they're performing.
If you don't mind real quick, Greg, I want to read a quote of yours that's on the front page of y'all's website and just see if we can break it down real quick. We got about 5 minutes. Through inclusion and accessibility, we will raise the membership. Through hard work and dedication, we will organize the membership. And through integrity and professionalism, we will increase contributions needed to revitalize the Horry County Democratic Party. It's a great time to be a Democrat. Let's break that down real quick. Through inclusion and accessibility. What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, the party's open to everybody. We have people that are old, people that are young. We have people of all genders and all races. We have people that are poor and in lower economic brackets, and we have people who are incredibly wealthy. And so that's the Democratic Party. In terms of accessibility, to be an active party, to be a party that does something in the community, you have to know who they are and where they are and how to contact them. One of the things that we've done is created a Democratic Party handbook. It lists all the officers, it lists all the precinct officers, it lists the party rules, and a lot of other information. So when you give that book to somebody and that they can see and connect and find out who to call when they have an issue or they have a problem.
That's invaluable. Through hard work and dedication, we will organize the membership. Is it examples like the handbook? What are some other ways y'all are organizing the membership?
We have active party officers, and also we have committees. We've formed, I think, 11 committees to work on various aspects of building the party and branching out. We have events regularly every month for people to attend so that they can, socials really, so they can meet other people.
It's always nice to know that other folks are interested in the same things. That's right. How about through integrity and professionalism? We'll increase contributions needed to revitalize the party.
If you don't have integrity, if people don't trust you or respect you, they're not going to give you their hard-earned money to do something worthwhile with. And when we were, in fact, I was talking to somebody about a treasurer, and we were talking about the different attributes, and that person pointed out to me, they said they need to be trusted, and that's the single most important thing. And I think that the local party and the officers have to be trusted in order to achieve anything. And that's where we've worked very hard to do that, and the people that are active in the party and the people who hold offices in the party.
How are you feeling about the Democratic presidential candidate's election as the new vice presidential candidate, his running mate?
I think it's terrific. I think that John Edwards is probably the best stump speaker that anybody's seen in maybe 30 or 40 years. I've seen him speak live, and there's an entourage that follows him and almost just wants to touch his coat.
Wow.
And it's hard for him to leave a place once he speaks.
You're not talking about reporters.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about people that were so moved by his speeches and his belief and his optimism. I think that he is he is an inspiring candidate because he is so optimistic and he is so hopeful that people love him, and I think that he'll help the ticket immensely.
Talking about inspiring and inspirations, Greg, who do you think's had the biggest impact on your life and helped get you where you are today?
I've had probably so much help and so many mentors from my parents on through different places I've worked. Really too many to mention. I probably have, 7 or 8 surrogate parents, father figures that have helped me my whole life. I've just really been blessed that a lot of people have taken an interest in my life and tried to help me and guide me.
That's great. Greg, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Greg McCollum coming up next. The fundamental message is very simple. That fundamental right of all citizens, all Americans, to vote, that key thing. Whether you're sitting here for the last 30 minutes as a Democrat or a Republican, the message is straight. Vote, join, stay involved, monitor, give, volunteer, give up a little time to get involved. It's that need to get out and make a difference. Greg McCollum's doing that every day.